What is good, YouTube and friends? You're here chilling with the real Satoshi Aoki, back at ya with a Crypto.com Cronos video. Folks, there has been a hell of a lot happening over the last month and my head is literally about to explode. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that in the earlier days I was covering a lot of Crypto.com content. Now I do try and get out a Crypto.com related news or update video every 1 to 2 weeks, as well as my weekly blockchain gaming content also. As it says in the title of this video, folks, can you trust Crypto.com as a user today? To really answer that question, I think we really need to dive a bit deeper. We need to really take a bit of a macroeconomic look at everything related to centralized exchanges and actually go ahead and have a look at the actual facts of the situation. Folks, I currently don't really own much CRO, to be honest. I probably own around about $300 to $400 worth of CRO. I gradually was selling off a profit. I took a loss on a bit. I moved some into NFTs. I do have a few Cronos NFTs. I'm not sponsored at all by Crypto.com either. And also for my actual crypto card, I don't actually use that anymore with a stake, guys. I actually unstaked that a while ago before the market started to tank and I cashed out into stablecoin. Going forward, folks, I will continue to make Crypto.com related videos. So if you're a Crypto.com junkie in the space, then make sure you like this video if you like it. Do it right now, guys, because I know you're going to enjoy it. And if you're someone that's got any involvement with Crypto.com whatsoever, funds on the app, on the exchange, anything like that, you're thinking of getting involved, this is a video you must sit through and watch. Folks, I'll also leave timestamps down below so that you can fast forward or rewind at your own convenience. Alrighty, folks, so I really just wanted to start here at the Mount Gox hack. What are the key takeaways for Mount Gox, folks? At its peak in 2013, Mount Gox handled a whopping 70% of all Bitcoin transactions worldwide. That's pretty staggering. Hackers accessed and stole 740,000 Bitcoin from Mount Gox customers and 100,000 from the company itself. Shortly after the hack in 2014, Mount Gox reportedly found 200,000 Bitcoins, which its customers are hoping to get back sometime in 2022. Folks, regardless of what's happened with FTX recently, you should never hold all of your net worth on a centralized exchange. I thought that before the FTX scandal. The only time I personally use a centralized exchange if I'm getting some good staking rewards. So for example, on the crypto earn, maybe with a stable coin or something like that. But even then, I would never put any more than probably 20 to 30% maximum. Even that's quite a bit, but you've got to kind of decide that for yourself on a centralized exchange because things like this do happen. Things that happen to FTX, things that happen to Mount Gox. Not your keys, not your crypto has never really rung more true than it does now. Be aware. Get your funds off any centralized exchanges if all your net worth is on there. I cannot stress that enough before we continue. And of course, folks, if you don't have one already, pick up a ledger and move your funds over to that. That is the project that I do trust the most. I will have an affiliate link for Ledger. If you do use that link, I will get a financial kickback. But guys, honestly, that is really the only number one security storage that I promote on this channel. I'm not going to lie to you and say that anything is 100% safe in this space, but a ledger on a cold storage is certainly better than any centralized exchange. Now, based on the recent tweets, ladies and gentlemen, where people were really just fudding Crypto.com to the max, you've got to understand, what are you comparing that FUD to? Because as far as we know so far, they haven't done anything wrong. Some people may not like what they've done, but you've got to understand nothing wrong has happened yet, and they haven't broken any promises. And what you've got to understand, guys, in my personal opinion, banks holding your inflated fiat currency year after year is not necessarily the best option either. And, you know, they don't necessarily have all your dollars one-to-one. No, banks take leverage. Banks lend your money out. Think of the 2009 financial crisis, guys. Corruption destroys livelihoods, economies, and democracies. It helps keep poor countries poor, encourages conflict and instability, and leads to fragile environments getting wrecked. And it doesn't stop there, folks. It's the SEC as well that have been corrupt, arguably, for years. The corruption of the SEC over decades and till today. The Securities and Exchange Commission, aka the SEC, set up after the 1929 stock market crash, has been a corrupt operation captured by the stockbrokers and Wall Street actors it was supposed to regulate. Here is the history, told in text and in a video I did for Superstorm. You can check the video out there, folks, but essentially, guys, even recently with the whole scandal of FTX, the SEC definitely has had some kind of fishy and shady role to play within that. Then if we move on to have a look at bank failures since 2009. Folks, have a look. In 2009, we had 140 bank failures. In 2010, we had 157 bank failures. Folks, money getting lended out to people to buy properties, then not being able to pay them back because they lost their jobs, the economy crashed. Guys, it was an absolute nightmare from 2009. Each bank essentially can almost be compared to an exchange. So at the end of the day, guys, there's no real safe place for your money. Even cash is getting pushed out right now with COVID and everything like that. So it's really hard, and you just need to take a bit more of a macro look and always do your due diligence when deciding where to store your money. It is really unfortunate to say what's recently been happening with FTX and a few other crypto exchanges and businesses before that is really no different and definitely no worse than the aftermath of the global financial crisis of 2008 to 2009. Many who took out subprime mortgages eventually defaulted. When they could not pay, financial institutions took major hits. The government, however, stepped in to bail out banks. The housing market was deeply impacted by the crisis. Evictions and foreclosures began within months. The stock market in response began to plummet, and major businesses worldwide began to fail, losing millions. This, of course, resulted in widespread layoffs and extended periods of unemployment worldwide. Declining credit availability and failing confidence in financial stability led to fewer and more cautious investments, and international trade slowed to a crawl. Eventually, the US responded to the crisis by passing the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, which used an expansionary monetary policy, facilitated bank bailouts and mergers, and worked towards stimulating economic growth. Some of you out there might think that cryptocurrency exchanges are going to be the shining knights. They're just going to save finance and, really look after your financial sovereignty. No, guys, there is corporate interest at hand. Millions, billions of dollars being played with. And there is always going to be this high level of corporate greed, whether we are talking about a cryptocurrency exchange or one of the major banks in the US or anywhere else worldwide. You're always going to have these issues and potentially have this shady behavior. If you can think of an example of a company that is at that tier level of a Binance, maybe what an FTX was, a Crypto.com, who haven't really been involved in much shady practice that you know of, then I'd love to know in the comments section of this video. Because at the end of the day, folks, yeah, your funds aren't necessarily safe on any cryptocurrency exchange at all, but they're not going to be safe in the bank either, guys. This is a little article. Don't forget what happened, guys, in Greece. The Greece crisis, banks shut down for a week, restrictions imposed on ATMs. This was very recent. Greece imposed restrictions on money withdrawals and banking transactions to keep its financial system from collapsing due to a run on the banks. Folks, this was literally only 7 years ago in Greece, out of all places. Athens, Greece imposed restrictions on money withdrawals and banking transactions to keep its financial system from collapsing due to a run on the banks. They did not have access to their money when they needed it most, guys. If it's in the bank, you don't have control. If it's in a centralized exchange, you don't have control. The safest bet still, as we know it today, is a ledger. Inflation is another one that you need to worry about. Not only do you have to be worried about where you are safely going to keep your funds or your worth, but if you're going to be keeping it in a fiat currency such as the US dollar, folks, you got to worry about inflation, okay? So essentially, your purchasing power is going to decrease over time. You're going to be able to buy less with your money as time goes on. That is the broken fiat system that we are unfortunately living in right now. As recent as March 2020, guys, this article, Banking Shutdown Drives Crypto Adoption Among Venezuelans, folks. So again, this is where cryptocurrency can and is becoming a fix. The indefinite suspension of Venezuela's national banking system is driving further adoption of cryptocurrencies. So folks, people are screwed in Venezuela, and they have been from 2020 and probably even before that, guys. Their economy is absolutely screwed. But there are people that if they have an internet connection, if they have a smartphone, they are fortunately able to actually use that to actually accept payment in the form of cryptocurrency to actually survive. A lot of people out there right now are actually comparing Crypto.com to the FTX scandal. I do think that is unfair. Folks, FTX created the FTX token. They used that token to actually get loans from various institutions, and CZ essentially started what was to follow would be the tanking of the price of FTX, which essentially meant they couldn't pay back their loans and they were using customer funds. Crypto.com's not doing this, alright? They're not doing this, they just move some money around, okay? You gotta think about what actually happened. So I think that comparison is actually a little bit unfair. Folks, there has been a lot of scrutiny around 20% roughly of Crypto.com's proof of reserves in their wallets being SHIBA INU. Folks, what you got to understand is this is somewhat relative to the customers using Crypto.com. If the customers using Crypto.com want a large percent of their portfolio to be SHIBA INU, then of course the reserves are going to represent a higher level of SHIBA INU. If all of Crypto.com's customers simply and only invested in BTC and ETH, then their reserves would probably show proof of reserves in primarily BTC and ETH alone. So what is it that actually happened here on paper? Crypto.com accidentally sends 320k ETH to Gate.io, recovers funds days after. The Crypto.com CEO, Kris Marszelek, confirmed the return of the funds and reassured the investors that new processes and features were implemented to prevent a reoccurrence. As we can see here, folks, this was actually prior to the FTX scandal. It was 24 days and 7 hours ago, and you can see it here from the Crypto.com wallet to the Gate.io wallet here. 320 Ether was transferred. Alright folks, so now we're going to just go ahead and look at a few tweets of the community, at least on Twitter, and see how they are handling this whole situation. CryptoJack says, will CRO be the next FTT? That Martini guy, my Crypto.com withdrawal of 2 BTC has been pending for 24 hours. This is not normal and is suggesting they are bankrupt. If we go down here from the recent update with this from the Martini guy, the update is the funds have still not arrived, funds are still pending, my concern is growing, people reporting smaller transactions are fine, but seeing a lot of issues with larger transactions. I can tell you folks, with my personal experience, I've actually had it where I've done a large transaction of around 1 BTC, it took up to 3 hours. On the same day, I also did a test transaction, because I always do that with bigger transactions, and you should as well, for around $5 to $10 worth of BTC. That actually took probably about 10 minutes or less, maybe even, to go through. So this is not something that's just started happening after Crypto.com moved funds from Gate.io. This has been happening for at least a year or more. And it's also really good that Crypto.com customer support are really onto this, okay? Hi there, our team would like to investigate what is happening with your withdrawal. Please send us a DM with your referral code and as many details as possible. And in my opinion, folks, that is genuine because Crypto.com customer support at the moment has always been good, at least for the last couple of years. From the Chainsaw, breaking, a potential bank run on Crypto.com may be in progress. Nearly 90,000 unique transactions have been processed in the last few hours, suggesting that users are scrambling to get the funds off the exchange. But what does the actual raw data suggest? Well, I can tell you what it suggests right here. In real time, here are the real statistics. If we actually look at some of the biggest exchanges such as Coinbase, Binance, OKX, Crypto.com, and Kraken, in terms of the 24-hour flow, whether it's in positive or negative, so how much money is either leaving or coming into the exchange, Coinbase is right up there as number 1. Binance is worse. That's kind of ironic, isn't it? More money leaving Binance versus Crypto.com. Then we've got OKX and Kraken. So nothing really out of the ordinary here when we compare it to the top exchanges. And this is kind of the statistics that you might expect considering the current market conditions and considering everything that has been going on with FTX. Of course, a normal-minded person is going to be taking funds, extracting them off these centralized exchanges because any of them could go down, but certainly it's not happening more on Crypto.com than it is on an OKX, a Binance, or a Coinbase. So that's really just being debunked right there. Big crypto influencer in the space, Ben Armstrong, tweeted, I just withdrew all my funds off Crypto.com. Now, I would also like to shout out that Ben Armstrong on the BitBoy Crypto channel, I don't know if he's still sponsored or partnered with Crypto.com, but he certainly was shilling Crypto.com for a long time, and he was definitely getting paid and partnered with them for a while. Where's the apology? How about all the people, that got signed up? Where's the apology to them if they're really pulling the rug, all right? Again, not having a crack at BitBoy, but, you can't just do that. A lot of these influencers were partnered with FTX. A lot of them are partnered with Crypto.com, maybe with Binance as well, all right? They're not taking accountability for their audience. He goes on to say, I don't necessarily think anything is wrong with Crypto.com, but if you haven't learned the importance of self-custody by now, then there may be no hope for you, not your keys, not your crypto. So again, what I find interesting is that if he's such an expert in the space, then why are there so many of his funds on Crypto.com anyway? Why isn't your money already in a ledger? Again, I go back to where we started this video, the whole Mount Gox scandal. Folks, everyone who gets into crypto should know about what happened with Mount Gox, how that's relative to centralized exchanges, corporate greed. It's a no-brainer, guys. You just have to work it out. Don't have all your net worth on exchanges. Move it to a ledger. Another tweet here from Mr. Whale. Just in, Crypto.com CEO and founder Kris just released their proof of reserves. The scary party. They hold more SHIB than ETH. So you can see the reserves here. And again, folks, the SHIB is relevant to people wanting SHIB, okay? That's what you got to understand. This actual proof of reserve is relative to what do people hold? What do the users of the Crypto.com app hold, okay? It is not necessarily all just simply the view of Kris Marszelek or Crypto.com. Tweets like this, get your money off Crypto.com now, in my opinion, are a little bit uneducated. It's fine to say get your money off Crypto.com. First of all, I'd encourage some correct spelling because it reads get your money of Crypto.com now, all right? So go to school, mate, learn English, learn how to tweet properly, add a little bit of fact. Don't just tweet get your money off Crypto.com. And it's not that I'm defending Crypto.com. I personally think you should have most of your funds off Crypto.com, but give some context to your audience. Why would you just stick out FUD without any relative context and explanations via threads? Honestly, some of these tweets are just frustrating and a waste of time. Alright, so this tweet here from Connor, this is something that I appreciate a bit more. He's just asking the questions and putting it out there. And why Gate.io would send back to Crypto.com 285k ETH 5 to 7 days later. He's just asking a question, he's popping the transactions there. So if we actually go in and have a look, you can actually see there are a variety of transactions of Ether going from Gate.io to Crypto.com, and the tally of those transactions when he did add them up was actually around 285k ETH. So there is a bit of a discrepancy there. It goes on to include links from Etherscan, which of course we can all appreciate. Kris Marszelek goes ahead to say, it was supposed to be a move to a new cold storage address, but was sent to a whitelisted external exchange address. We worked with the Gate team and the funds were subsequently returned to our cold storage, were implemented to prevent this from reoccurring. So what do I think about this in a nutshell? Well, it just isn't good enough from Crypto.com. How can they make a mistake like that with 80% of their Ethereum going to Gate.io? Do I honestly think that it was a mistake? If I'm being totally honest, I don't. I don't think it was a mistake. I think that they actually did it for a reason. Do I think that there was bad intention, malice behind it to hurt the community, or any intentions of a rug pull or a bank run or anything like that from Crypto.com? Honestly, I don't. I think that maybe they did it to help Gate.io in some reason, and I think that maybe Gate.io would possibly do the same to help out Crypto.com, okay? A bank might help a bank, a business might help a business. You might lend your friend some money one day, he might lend you some money. Obviously, that's not comparable to a big institution. These are people's funds in cold storage. They shouldn't be moved around like this. That's the bottom line. So the fact that it's happened, whether it was by accident or not, is just unacceptable, and he really does need to come out and appropriately address this, which I believe he is doing the best for the most part. Best case scenario though, it was an honest mistake, which again, I don't really believe. That's the narrative that they're running with, but to be honest, they have said a lot of things in the past, Crypto.com. Again, if you've been in the space for a while, you know I've loved Crypto.com for a long time, but a lot of the things that they've been saying are just total garbage. Now, something important to consider is this here. Crypto.com's CEO says all funds were returned from Gate.io, but on-chain, that's on the blockchain, on Etherscan, it clearly shows 35k ETH did not get returned. So what happened? Did Kris Marszelek and Crypto.com pay Gate.io 35k ETH for some mysterious reason? Well, no. It actually just got sent to a different wallet, and that can be proven on-chain. The transaction for that 35,000 Ethereum, which brings the total to 300k Ethereum, is right here, as you can see, from Gate.io to Crypto.com, and that brings the balance of the funds from Gate.io to Crypto.com back to 300,000. Gate.io came out with an official tweet to say, clarifications on Crypto.com's transfer for the sake of transparency and education. Snapshot for the POR audit, that's proof of reserves audit, was taken apparently on October 19th. That's for Gate.io on October 19th. Crypto.com's deposit was not included in the proof of reserves Trust Explorer, that's the information there on the link. All 320k ETH were returned. Apologies, just quickly going back to here, I'm aware that I made a mistake. It was actually 320k, not 300, which was the total balance after the 35,000 Ether was transferred. Apologies for that. So what's the deal here? People basically thought that the money was transferred from Crypto.com to Gate.io to prop up or make their proof of reserves look more attractive, at least in the way of Ethereum or just some funds if Gate.io was to maybe, I don't know, trade that Ethereum to USD or something like that, to basically, you know, make their proof of reserves look more attractive. But according to the on-chain data and the data that is available to us now, I'm not going to say that anything is ever certain, okay? But from what I can see with this data, I've been researching this all day, is that the snapshot was in fact taken on the 19th and the funds were not used. But that begs the question then, if the funds were sent deliberately and it wasn't a mistake, which I don't know, I still feel like it kind of is, like I said before, then what was the reason? Because I do find it very hard to believe that you could make a mistake of that magnitude, but I'd love to know your comments and thoughts on that. Now, this is from the official Gate.io website. On October 21, Crypto.com sent 320k ETH to the Gate.io account it was using. This large number amount triggered the security audit mechanism of the Gate.io platform, which was intercepted by the risk control system. After communicating with Crypto.com and confirming that it was an operation error transfer, we immediately started the asset return process and assisted in returning all the wrongly transferred assets. On-chain transfer address. So that's the great thing about blockchain, guys. You can't hide anything. All the information is here. You just need to follow the blockchain. And if you also wanted to know, folks, there was a third party that did audit this proof of reserves for Gate.io, Armanino. All the information for that will also be in the video description. An article from today says Crypto.com CEO dismisses speculation of financial trouble, says FTX exposure is minimal. In a live question session, Kris Marszelek said the company's balance sheet is strong. Expect a tough crypto winter, but Crypto.com isn't going anywhere, CEO Kris Marszelek said during a live interview hosted on its YouTube channel. That live interview, folks, we are actually going to be reacting to, and I'm actually going to film my whole self watching that video and reacting to everything that was said, whether it's positive or negative. That will be out in the coming days, so make sure you like the video, subscribe, turn the notification bells on if you want to see that video. In the interview, Marszelek reiterated that the exchange has a strong balance sheet and said its exposure to FTX was limited to 10 million USD. On the back of the Gate.io audit, it's also good to see that 100% increase in the reserves of user assets under proof of reserves attestation was proven in that actual audit. In summary, folks, do I think Crypto.com involved in some scandalous activity? I do not. I do not believe that they are, based on the information that is available at the moment. What do I personally think about the actions of accidentally sending the funds from Crypto.com, that 320k ETH, to Gate.io? Do I believe that it was a mistake? Obviously, I don't know. I don't believe it was a mistake. I believe that maybe there were some other intentions behind it. I don't know what those intentions are, because as we sort of read through the information and the research, the proof of reserves from Gate.io was done and audited prior to those ETH funds going to Gate.io from Crypto.com. So I'm not sure. I mean, there is a chance that it was a mistake, but honestly, if it was a mistake, that's just unacceptable, okay? How can you send 80% of your ETH reserves by accident somewhere with your team? It doesn't add up. It's a little bit fishy, and it really just doesn't add up to me. So I believe there's something that isn't being seen here. At the end of the day, folks, your crypto is not safe anywhere, and to be quite honest with you, especially now more than ever, there's nothing really safe in my opinion aside from BTC. BTC is the number one asset, maybe some Ethereum, all right, and the safest place to store it is on a ledger. Any of these centralized exchanges post Mount Gox, not post FTX, it's never been safe. And unfortunately, a lot of people are learning a really hard lesson right now. A lot of people, for some crazy reason, had all of their net worth on FTX, millions and millions and millions. And whilst I do feel sorry for these people, I kind of don't as well, because, you know, you need to be a bit better educated in this space. And what do I think about Crypto.com on the whole? Do I think they'll recover and bounce back from this? I do, okay? I do think they'll survive the winter. You know, they've been around for a long time. They're very transparent. They have the highest level of security in the cryptocurrency space. You know, they're doing things by the book, in my opinion, in terms of regulation and everything like that. And I think a few tweets back and forth about Crypto.com FUD and everything like that are not going to make a difference. Of course, it's not great if people are withdrawing funds from the Crypto.com exchange and the Crypto.com app, because Crypto.com makes money from people swapping in and out of assets, topping up the card, using the exchange. That's how they make money to pay for these massive partnerships and things like that. So if everyone just pulls all their money off Crypto.com, is it going to be good for the Crypto.com business? No, it's going to be awful. Does it mean they could go bankrupt? Yeah, maybe. I don't know for sure, but it definitely increases the chances of it happening. So definitely this kind of FUD does have an impact on Crypto.com. But I do still believe that if Crypto.com are a genuine business, and I think they are, they will have a plan B for this kind of thing. They will have a plan B for the bear market. They understand, or they should understand, that in times like this, people are going to be pulling their money off exchanges and going more into cold storage, non-custodial fashion wallets. So they need to have the funds to be able to prop up their business for times like these that are very turbulent. But I'd love to know your comments in the comment section. So talk to me in the comment section. Jump in my official Discord. Talk to me in there. Jump in the Crypto.com chat, guys. We can chat in there. If you enjoyed the video, like it. I tried to be as unbiased as possible in this video. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you watch in the coming days with the notification bells on. I'll be running through that entire video with Kris Marszelek to keep you informed with what's going on. So wherever you're watching from in the world, make sure you have a great one, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.